I think I might end up doing an episode on is Batman a fascist at some point. I spent like 2 hours of my day just being angry
about the Blue Beetle trailer.
Not even that. Like that was whatever. I saw like a TikTok about somebody discussing fucking Alan Moore, man. He had to go and I was like, okay, like I've heard the argument that Batman's a fascist before. Not even the argument, just the statement.
Sure.
And then there was like a really smart dude like talking about like pop culture, and he was talking about how anybody who wears a mask is, according to Alan Moore, a fascist. And because he's Alan Moore, he had to really push it even further and really pissed me off by saying that Birth of the Nation was the first superhero movie.
What?
Not that he liked it, but that he described because he's got to be edgy, you know?
Sorry, this is what Alan Moore said, or this is what the guy said?
This is what Alan Moore said. He was talking about Alan Moore. Yeah.
Fucking hell,
because
man.
They were famously the movie depicts the KKK as heroes.
As heroes, yeah.
And they're wearing, I guess, what would be considered a mask.
Yeah.
So if you're going off of those two facts and only those two facts,
I'm so tired.
Birth of the Nation.
Jack, I'm so tired.
This episode might kill you. I was thinking about it.
Oh, is this part of the episode? I thought you were just spitballing.
No, well, yes and no. No, I am just spitballing. But
okay.
If this is going to kill you, it gets so much worse.
Great.
But I started to look into like the 13 tenets of early warnings of fascism to apply to Batman, and like none of them apply. And I'm excited to argue about it because there's also different iterations of fascism and Batman.
Fascinating.
There are definitely versions of Batman that are a fascist.
Sure.
Like Nazi Batman.
Okay, that one's like
probably a little fascist.
That's a little on the nose.
It was
right.
Like, it's like, what if they were Nazis?
Yeah, sure.
He would be a fascist.
You know who wouldn't be?
Who's that?
The Batman cough.
What?
The Batman from Superman Red Son.
Oh, yeah. No, he would not be a fascist. No, he wouldn't.
No.
That's a different world, though.
It is a different world.
That's if Superman landed in Mother Russia instead of Kansas.
Yes.
Didn't have the
salt
of the earth people.
I just wanted to say Batman cough.
Okay.
That's all I
was
wanted.
like, Batman can cough. That was not me being like funny.
No, nobody ever. No, it's not normal to cough ever.
That's my Batman cough.
Fucking abomination.
But there's a world where it's the Kingdom Come world by Mark Wade.
Okay.
And Alex Ross, where it's like if Superman had quit because he got sad. I don't want to ruin the story for anybody because it's really good.
Well, sometimes you have to sit alone in your Antarctic fortress and just listen to The Cure. I don't know, man. Like you get sad sometimes.
Now I want to know, what would Superman listen to when he's sad? It would probably be like Hank Williams. Jr.
That's
something.
probably true. Yeah, I can see him being a Willie Nelson boy.
Yeah. I mean, he was in isolation for years, so you're going to get tired of Hank Williams Jr.
He gets in a silly mood and he puts on Boy Named Sue.
Right. Yeah. No, he's got to mix it up. Anyway, Batman, he gets older because he's human, and he can't really patrol Gotham like he wanted to or what used to. So he makes robot Batmans. So the robots police Gotham.
Yes.
That's a little fashy.
That is pretty fashy, actually. Yeah. That is, who, buddy?
He kind of just like sits in the Batcave and stares at his Bat computer with all the cameras and sends out his robot Batmans. That's pretty fashy.
Yeah. Like I think there's a pretty solid argument for the Nolan versus Batman bordering on fashy.
He bumps up against it,
especially in The Dark Knight Rises. If I'm
God, I can't. I've watched that movie twice, and the first time I had chlamydia, so I can't remember it super well.
Yeesh.
It was a rough watch.
I remember watching it in theaters and enjoying it, and some of the other people that I watched it in theaters with were immediately like, "That was terrible. It was
awful."
But specifically for fashy reasons, they felt it was awful.
Okay.
Though I think like the more like immediate example that jumps out to me is the cell phone monitoring scheme in The Dark Knight.
But he has Morgan Freeman to be like,
Right.
stop that.
Yeah, he
All
puts it
right,
in the hands
fine.
of a super not fascist
Yeah.
who's able to kill it right away after it's been used for the one questionable thing.
And then he knows well enough to be like, listen,
I can't be trusted
I can't be trusted with this.
Please, Lucius, you have to save me from myself.
Yeah. I guess we should start the episode.
That might be a good idea.
Because my laptop went to sleep.
Oh, no.
So that'll probably be an episode at some point in the future. It's just me ranting
Batfash.
Sure. And the different universes, the multiverse, laid out by one Grant Morrison.
I'm curious to know what the hell this has to do with the movie we're
Not
talking about
a
today.
goddamn thing.
Oh, okay, that's better,
No.
actually.
No, well, I was starting to think, oh man, you just... Well, I was thinking about what the guy said about if you're wearing a mask, then you're inherently a vigilante because you're hiding your identity. I'm like, well, Batman's not hiding his identity. He is Batman.
Yeah, if anything, yeah, it's cliched at this point. Bruce
Right.
Wayne is the mask. Yeah.
Like when he was, I think 7, his parents died. Bruce Wayne also died. He became Batman.
Yeah.
Because I was also thinking, like, well, Knifebreaker, seen behind me,
Yeah.
he wears a mask. And I'm like, is he, by Alan Moore's definition, a fascist?
Vigilante, yes.
Vigilante, yes.
Fascist, no. He kills a Nazi.
He does straight up kill a Nazi.
It's the first scene.
The first thing he does. With almost no explanation. All right, our boy Knifebreaker's okay. Well, I was also thinking, I'm like, well, Speedy doesn't wear a mask until he becomes a villain.
He dons a mask at that pivotal turn.
Yeah, spoilers for our short film, Knifebreaker, the
Yeah, if you
Brickening.
don't have like 7 minutes to watch our short film on YouTube, I don't know what to tell you. I'll link it in the description.
Do it. Yeah, it's not even me trying to shamelessly promote our stuff. People seem to genuinely like it.
Yeah, it's a little bewildering.
To my surprise, I've definitely tried harder on other things that there's like, meh.
I mean, we tried pretty hard to purposely make this stupid. So.
We did a pretty good job making it stupid.
Yeah, we did.
But I'm like, because I've written other Knifebreaker stories, some that I'd like to make down the road.
Sure.
And at no point do I think of Knifebreaker as a man in a disguise. Knifebreaker is just Knifebreaker.
Yeah, I don't really know much about Knifebreaker's like just employee at the Snappy Mart personality. Like,
He wears the mask at all times,
just constantly.
Yeah.
See, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think initially it was like, oh, we'll go the superhero route. Like he puts the mask on to become a superhero. I'm like, but he wouldn't.
He's too stupid.
He's just Knifebreaker 24/7. And then I was like, does he have the same mindset as Batman? Yeah, he kind of does.
I guess, yeah.
Like when his parents died,
whoever Knifebreaker was before and
yeah.
ceased to be, he just leans into it a lot harder because there's just no there's no self-awareness or irony there.
No, not whatsoever.
No.
He doesn't really have like Bruce Wayne's my disguise. It's just like it's all me, baby. So no, he's not wearing a disguise. He's wearing a mask, but it's like the way you wear underpants.
Yeah, basically.
He puts on his socks, his underpants, his regular pants, and then his mask.
Yeah, he puts his underpants on just like anyone else would.
Right.
By
over top of his
over top of his jeans that he jumped into from about 4 feet up off the ground.
Yeah.
We should move on before this gets any more masturbatory.
God, and after we did Caligula, you wouldn't think it would get any more coming in here.
Oh, God.
So I was thinking about aliases.
Okay.
Given the topic of our movie.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah.
Our non-existent Batfash conversation that's, I'm assuming, been cut from this episode.
We'll see.
Led to this point, kinda. So I don't use my government name, so
That's true. Yeah.
been a lie since you've known me.
Yeah, I'm the idiot that uses his real name and shit.
Well, I was like, what kind of alias could we give you?
What could you give
So I went to an alias generator.
Please tell me it's the Wu-Tang name generator.
Oh, shit. God. Fuck no. I was trying to find like a reasonable, because the reason they picked the name that they picked today, which is Alan Smithee, is because it sounds real enough that people don't pay attention to it, but it's just fake enough that most people aren't going to have that name.
Sure.
So that was what I was going for when I started just hammering that button. January 1.
So walk me through this then. What options do I have for my potential alias?
So the only thing I gave it was 2-part name, starts with a J.
Okay.
So I went with the 5 that I thought were like, okay, you could maybe, rock this.
Okay.
Juan Diego.
Juan Diego. Okay. I'm very white for that name, but
okay,
that's not historically inappropriate.
We got some other options.
Okay.
We have Giovanni Fiorentini.
I mean, I am Italian. I could. I don't speak the language, but I could pass.
You look maybe perhaps a little bit more Johann Schuster.
Oh, I could easily. Yeah. No, I could. Yeah. I could be Johann. Yeah.
Stop going to sleep. Jermis Klein.
Jermis Klein.
Yeah.
I think that's the front runner so far, right?
You would think it would win until it gave me this gem. Again, this is not supposed to be like a funny or, it's doing this in earnest. Joey Rouse. Joey space Rouse.
Could you spell that last name for me?
Rowse.
Okay.
But they could have gone Joe Rouse.
They could.
But they didn't. They went Joey Rouse. Like a fucking Bart's calling Moe's Tavern.
Oh God. I think that wins. I don't even have to change my first name.
No. And then I did a couple for myself, and since we both have a name that starts with J, I did J.A. to mix up a little bit.
Yeah.
Jermaine Azizi?
Jermaine Azizi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
You could specifically choose African names, and I decided no.
I applaud your restraint.
Yeah. Again, this is an app that's in earnest. So Jacob Wiener.
God, no.
As well as Jacob Cock.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Also, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing this, J-Tai?
Pardon?
J-A-E, T-A-E.
I think you're pronouncing that correctly.
Well, that's a possible option. But, the very first one it gave me, and I'm like, I don't want to use this, was Jasper Jennings.
I like that. It gave you a fucking Stan Lee-ass name.
Right? I'm like, I could definitely use that as a pseudonym.
Oh, yeah. I could see you getting some good use out of Jasper Jennings.
That might be my porn director name.
There we go. You've always wanted one.
I've always wanted one. And it's like...
It sounds old man pervy enough.
Right. I don't want it to be, Jacob Cox.
No, that's too on the nose.
Or Jacob Wiener.
That's too stupid and also on the nose. Apologies to any Jacob Cox or Jacob Wieners out there.
No, I mean, welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson here. Suffer alongside me, as always, is also host Joe Nealis.
Howdy, everybody.
All the movies on DeRazzled won Worst Picture at the Razzies the year they were released. The Razzies, for those of you who don't know, are something of reverse Oscars. They recognize the worst films of the year. It's been a while since we've got to do the original opening.
It's true, yeah. We've been bouncing around between a bunch of new stuff recently.
Yeah,
but now we're back to a bona fide worst picture winner.
It sure tastes like it, too. So we're kind of doing a sequel, sidequel, kind of, sort of, to our Verhoeven month. Specifically, Showgirls.
Right.
Because the movie we're covering was written... more or less masterminded by a Joe Esterhaz.
Yes, that's correct. Who, I'm going to be honest, looks a lot different than I imagined him to.
He looks like a Wookiee from the Christmas special.
Kinda, yeah. I for some reason I imagined either gruffer or more conventionally attractive.
Oh no,
I don't know.
I mean, I think when he first started out making movies, he had what I would refer to as Burt Reynolds hot.
Okay.
Which is like, he's not hot, but for some reason...
He just is a sex symbol?
He just is a sex symbol. I'm not saying Joe Esterhaz is a sex symbol, but...
Maybe he would say.
But he might just say differently.
No, that's writer Joe.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So that's part of the charm of Joe Esterhaz is if you're only looking at his writing, you'd swear he's a despicable human being. But then you see him in interviews and he's like kind of quiet and shy.
Yeah. It's a little surprising.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, he's not bad. And his acting is terrible because he doesn't want to be on camera.
Yes. No, he looks very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like you wrote that part for yourself, Joe.
He did. He did.
So we are doing an Alan Smithee movie, Burn, Hollywood Burn.
Yes. 1998, I believe.
It is bad. It's a bad movie.
It's a real bad movie. I'd always been kind of intrigued by this movie, just as being aware of the convention of Alan Smithee and seeing that it was just, they're playing with this idea and this title. I was like, oh, okay, that actually could be fun potentially. And I was wrong.
The core concept of there's a fake name that directors use when they don't want to be attached to the project they were working on.
Yes.
That name being Alan Smithee, and then having an actual director be named Alan Smithee and therefore has to find some other way to distance himself from a project. That is a good, I'm going to say, seed to start from.
It's a good base premise, I'd say. Yeah, like it had potential.
But I guess now's as good a time as any to race some horses, huh?
I suppose it is about that time. While I get the timer ready here, if you have a moment, if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate it if you go wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review if you don't mind. That helps other people find us a whole lot easier, and it means a whole lot to us. So we'd really appreciate it.
Please and thank you.
All right, Jackie, you ready for this? Or do you want to give them a rundown about how Pavlovian horses works real quick?
So instead of providing a highly descriptive summary full of quips, we'll be playing a game called Pavlovian Horses, wherein I'll have 5 minutes to summarize the movie and not a second more. Should the timer hit 5 minutes, Joe will blast me with horse sounds. Horses. Today I found a turd drying on the side of the public bathroom stall wall. I blame horses.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
I blame horses. Start the timer.
Dried to the wall?
Drying. It was in the process of drying.
Oh, okay. So you had just gotten there like long enough after the crime had been committed.
I'm not a forensics scientist, but if I had to guess based upon the drying around the outside rim of the turd, it looks like it had been drying there for at least several hours. But it's still soft enough in the I hate you for making me say this.
I hate you opened this door. Who let a horse in there?
The most perplexing thing is that, I'm telling you this, and you are probably in your mind imagining that this turd is somewhere either around the toilet or towards the bottom area of the stall.
I figured it was at least in the stall.
It is in the stall.
Okay.
But it is at almost as though, if you imagine putting your head in the toilet and your rump facing upwards and then trying to fire it like artillery over into the next stall, but just just barely missing and having it stick to the top area of the stall wall.
Oh no.
That is what it was. And listen, I spent way longer staring at this turd than I ever should have. Dude eats his fiber.
This is how much we don't want to talk about this movie.
You really hate this fucking movie. It's so stupid. There were no indications that a hand had touched this turd. So I don't understand how it made it from a butthole to the wall without any hand. It's like the seashells from Demolition Man. Like, how did it work?
Well, you you scrape with the one, then you scrape the other one clean, then you use the other with one for your hands. Is how it's been explained to me.
I've seen pictures.
I'm starting the timer. 3, 2, 1, go.
We open on Stallone directly addressing the audience with a Rocky reference and a cum joke. Then we cut to the title card and a list of names of people I don't know, but now hate by association to this film. This is actually a really good introduction to Alan Smithee in that it introduces you to a film's aesthetic and dumpster jokes.
Yeah.
It then cuts to the title card, which I'm going to read verbatim. If a director feels that the movie has been so badly changed that he or she wants their name off of it, they can use the Directors Guild pseudonym Alan Smithee. If the director's real name happens to be Alan Smithee and he wants his name off a movie, ... then he is ... fucked.
And fucked is just his own card. There's nothing else on the screen when it says fucked.
Eric Idle plays the titular Alan Smithee, who directs the movie called Trio, starring Stallone, Jackie Chan, and Whoopi Goldberg, all playing themselves in this movie. When his control over the film is ousted by the producers and the A-list stars, he becomes irate. Producer James, played by Ryan O'Neal, suggests that he take the fake name used by a director who wants to disown his project, Alan Smithee. The problem is that Alan Smithee is his real name. He is Alan Smithee. Get it? It's funny. What a pickle. Unable to distance himself from the film, Smithee steals the only negative, which is a thing that would never happen in a $3 billion film, that there would only be one copy, intending to burn it. Spoilers, he does. What happens between him stealing it and him burning it is an exhausting 86 minutes of Hollywood deep cuts, misogyny, even by like 1998 standards, and mean-spirited jabs at everything that makes a movie a movie. That's it. That's the whole thing. But I guess I'll tempt the demon horse lords a little bit longer. Our leads are actually the two producers of the film, James and Jerry. Yeah. Jerry being played by the late Richard Jeni. They hire sex workers who are written in the tasteless, woman-hating fashion that Esterhaz has become known for. They display less than subtle racism. They rage and abuse everyone around them, including each other. They are everything that we now know Harvey Weinstein to be. Oh, hey! There's Harvey Weinstein! Harvey Weinstein plays a detective hired by the producers to find Smithee. This is such a surreal moment in the year of our horse, 2023.
Almost did a spit take.
I was like, please don't take a drink right now. But was also probably pretty weird for audiences in 1998 who would probably not recognize this festering smegma, not yet at his full power.
Yeah. The hair was keeping all the evil in at that point.
Speaking of people that the audiences wouldn't recognize, this movie is filled to the gills with them.
Yeah.
And those that couldn't fit, the movie makes sure to reference. So many fucking names dropped, and none of them relevant to the plot. Do people actually know who Michael Ovitz is? Do they? Email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com if you do. Not you, Antonio, but anyone else. Something that should be noted is that very little of the action actually happens on screen. It is instead discussed through interviews and brief cutaways. It's like a 20-80 cut, 80% being interviews. At some point, Alan Smithee, now on the run with the canisters of film, just 2, which is weird because I thought it was like 3 or 4. It's a really short film.
Just 2 apparently.
Meets the brothers, and Spike Lee-esque duo of indie directors.
Yeah, Leon and Dion brothers, if I remember correctly.
They fight for Smithee to get final cut, but are double-crossed by the producers who follow them back home to capture Smithee. However, they are too late. Smithee has already escaped, fleeing to the La Brea tar pits, where he burns the canisters. Another thing we don't actually see on screen, it's just exposition.
I'll save my question for later.
Having become something of a folk hero, a bidding war erupts over the rights to Smithee's life. Robert Evans tries to get them before our 2 producers finally do. Eric Idle says, "Cool," then turns his hair backwards, a real Bart Simpson, that Alan Smithee.
Turns his hat backwards.
What did I say?
Hair.
I like mine better. A Tarzan yells, and the movie cuts to black.
There was a Tarzan. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, you had like 40 seconds left. You're safe from the horses today.
I didn't want to talk about the plot. The non-existent plot.
What plot?
Yeah, there's
no fucking plot. Oh, okay, so he takes the fucking negatives to the La Brea tar pits to light them on fire. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't he just throw them into the tar pits?
That would be more cinematic, wouldn't it?
I mean, either that or show them burning. Either way, show us something.
Everyone knows the rule, right? Show, don't tell. I feel like that's the first thing they teach you.
It's like writing 100.
Yeah. You're not even allowed in the door to 101 until
you have not even signed up for 101 yet. And some professor has wandered by and been like, oh, hey, by the way.
Show, don't tell, right?
Show, don't tell.
What? Get out. Huh? Get out. How did you pass your audition? Yeah, which is weird because Esterhaz did Basic Instinct and he wrote Showgirls, and those are both movies that have quite a bit of action. Those are also both movies that were directed by Verhoeven.
They're specifically both Verhoeven movies. Yeah.
I want to say he wrote Flashdance, but I have never seen Flashdance, so I can't say. Which is weird. It's a local film, right? Didn't they shoot it in Pittsburgh?
I don't know. That's news to me.
We should have a Pittsburgh episode.
We really should.
Most of them are bad. And then you have Night of the Living Dead and Flashdance, and then the rest are pretty bad.
Well, Dark Knight Rises, but that's not the best of them. Go on.
Anyway, so that's our story. There are many, many, many more people that show up for like a hot second to have very little to do with the plot. There's a whole subplot I think I skipped over where I think I'm going to use their real names because I can't. Jerry and James are too similar.
Yeah.
So I think it's Ryan O'Neal who is the more dominant of the two producers.
Yeah.
Gets
the more unhinged of the two producers,
right?
As
the more Weinstein-y of the two producers.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. He gets I don't know if she was explicitly a sex worker or if she was just a girl he knew to sleep with Alan Smithee.
Oh God, yeah. It's really not clear if she's a sex worker or.
Yeah, they didn't really show any of it.
She might be. I think there's some in one of the hastily, poorly, lazily written
oh my God, those things.
Title cards that popped up or caption bits that popped up to introduce her. I think escort was included in the list of descriptors among everything else, including feminist. Every single woman in this film has the feminist tag on them for whatever reason. I guess they thought that was funny in 1998.
Before watching this movie, I wasn't like an Esterhaz apologist, but I felt for him a little bit. Because we've talked about, we know his background.
Right. I think in particular, like the interviews that we've heard about him surrounding Showgirls, like really paint him to be a more sympathetic figure.
Yeah.
This really, this makes me want to punch Writer Joe right in the fucking throat. Like this, ugh.
You would message me during watching it and said how lazy it was written.
It was.
It is.
Yeah. It's astounding. Like how, like the low-hanging fruit wasn't even still on the tree. Like it had fallen off and was rotting on the ground.
Just kind of just like rubbing all over it like a dog in mud.
Kinda. Joe Esterhaz rolling around in the ground.
I think it looks like a big old dog.
Bunch of fruit pulp.
What do you remember the names of the magazines? Because that was was like Saturday morning cartoon lazy.
It's like Mad TV came up with more imaginative like, parody names for things. Newsleak was that stood out to me, and I think it was the New York Slime.
I think you're right.
Those are the only two that like specifically jumped to my mind. I think they're the only ones that are referenced more than once.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of other ones as well where they're supposed to be like big prominent publications of some sort that have just a jokey fake name.
So later I kind of start to talk about how he almost feels like a bully, like high school bully. And that really comes out in these really pathetic jokes about the news tabloids, or not even news. They're not even tabloids.
Yeah, in the one case, it's the New York Times,
right,
which, given, is a fucking historically shitty rag in a lot of ways, but also is still referred to as the paper of record. It's not a tabloid.
I feel like we covered the story about as well as we can cover it.
Honestly, I know we'll get into more specifics when we get into what does and doesn't work about this, but the face you just made, oh God, it's just a single tear. It's like the commercial of the Native American looking at the landfill. Just one tear rolled down Jack's face.
I think he was Italian.
I think he was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that actor was Italian.
Let's cut the break.
We'll be right back.
Let's talk about some stats.
Sure, why not?
Do you know the numbers for Alan Smithee?
I don't. I did not look them up this time.
What do you think the tomato meter score is?
It's got to be like a 3.
It's pretty low. It's a snooget bigger than a 3. It's 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
I was correct. It was single digits.
Yes,
at least.
Very much so. What would you say the audience score is?
Well, you see some side boob in the bloopers, so
there is
like
a side boob.
So like a 12.
It's 15. And I wholeheartedly believe that it was that side boob that bumped it up like 4 points.
Yeah.
IMDb score out of 10.
1.9.
I would have given it like a 2.3, but man, IMDb let me down. It is a 3.5 out of 10.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
God.
right?
Okay, I need somebody to answer for this, because like IMDb consistently rates some of the worst movies that we've seen unreasonably high. Given like that score is trash.
Yeah, it's a bad score.
It's a very bad score out of 10. But like if the consensus elsewhere is less than 20%, how did that happen?
I wonder if...
Are these the same people that wrote 5-star reviews for Caligula on Amazon?
You leave my name out of your mouth.
God damn it.
Oh, shit. Hey, you know what existed at the time? The Stinkers.
The Stinkers did exist at this time, yeah.
The Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, specifically 1999, because, it's covering the year before.
Yes.
So let's cover... They had some things to say about an Alan Smithee movie, or Alan Smithee film, Burn, Hollywood Burn. It's too long of a title.
It's way too long of a title, yeah.
Like, I was like, are they trying to go for the mockumentary vibe? Because sometimes documentaries can have stupidly long titles.
I mean, clearly that's what they were going for, but like it.
But the title itself, like Burn Hollywood Burn, does not describe the film further. Or
if anything, they should have swapped them. But
yeah, they'd almost had a perfect movie. Just swap those two.
Fixed it. We're done. What the Stinkers have to say.
So it was nominated for Worst Picture, but this was the year that Spice World came out.
Oh, right. Spice World won the won Worst Picture at the Stinkers that year.
Sure did.
Right. Wow. Huh.
This movie feels so much older than Spice World.
It really does. It genuinely does. Like they feel like they're completely different eras of filmmaking.
Yeah. Well, the jokes feel like they're from like 1984. And the references feel like they're from like 1984.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Worst Director, Alan Smithee. Also known as Arthur Hiller.
Yes.
But lost to Jeremiah, let's say, Chichik, who directed The Avengers. No, not that one. The
right.
Sean Connery, I think Ray Fiennes.
I believe you're correct. Yes.
God, that was a boring film.
I've never seen it, but I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
I mean, I'm from the United States, so I didn't really know the source material. But the movie itself was boring. Most painfully unfunny comedy. It was nominated for that as well, but lost to a movie I've never heard of, Meet the Deedles.
I've heard of Meet the Deedles. I've not seen it.
I've heard the title,
though.
but that's it. It did, however, win Worst On-Screen Hairstyle. Would you like to guess who won the Worst On-Screen Hairstyle?
Worst On-Screen Hairstyle?
Yeah.
Worst On-Screen Hairstyle. Was it Ryan O'Neal?
No, it was Joe Esterhaz.
Oh,
which I find is a charming haircut.
His hair was fine.
He's a Wookiee.
Yeah, no, this anti-Kashyyyk sentiment just can't stand. Okay,
but what I will say is I'm glad they didn't go with the other person who's nominated because it feels kind of borderline racist.
Oh,
Scary Spice.
That's more than borderline racist, I'd say. Yeah.
Also, I liked her hair in that.
Her hair.
She had the two little horn looking things.
A, her hair looked fine in that, and B, her hair just always looked like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's her hair.
That's one Stinkers. You've got a ways to go before you beat the Razzies, though.
Yeah. But we're watching you.
We're watching you, even though
no
you're already
longer existent entity.
But no, we'll take over if you guys let us.
Yeah, they give us stinkers.
So interesting Stinkers sidebar.
Oh,
that barely has anything to do with our topic today.
Okay.
So they have this thing called the What Were They Thinking Award. What were they thinking and why? It's a Founders Award. It's stupid.
Okay.
That year it went to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for honoring Elia Kazan for a Lifetime Achievement Award. So Elia Kazan was the director of a lot of movies, but just a couple that you may have heard of: A Streetcar Named Desire,
Sure,
On the Waterfront, Splendor in the Grass, East of Eden. He did a lot of, he adapted a lot of plays actually.
Okay.
However, and they were really good. Like nothing bad to say about his films. However, there was a turning point in his career. And I know we'll talk about this at some point in the future.
Okay.
Where he provided testimony as a witness before the House Committee of Un-American Activities in 1952.
He named names.
He named names.
That motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll stand. I'll stand with the stinkers on that one.
Yeah.
That's some that. Mm-mm.
What is further interesting, because I agree. I'm like, I probably would have just not said anything about it, but I don't disagree with the stinkers kind of being like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, honestly.
Director Stanley Kubrick was asked, his opinion about Elia Kazan, not what he'd done, just the man.
Just of him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quote, "Without question, the best director we have in America, and capable of performing miracles with the actors he uses." Which,
okay.
Again, watching those movies, if I know anything about Elia Kazan, 100% agree. But this is notable because Kubrick directed Spartacus. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with what Spartacus is about?
I know like the I've never actually seen the entire movie, but I know like the big like everyone claiming to be Spartacus scene.
It is about the House Committee of Un-American Activities. Like it is about the Hollywood blacklist.
Oh. I see the parallel. Okay.
It, in fact, was written by Dalton Trumbo, who was one of the writers that was blacklisted, in part because of Elia Kazan's testimony.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Okay, so Kubrick definitely had some feelings about that.
Yeah.
He was just also capable. I guess he's a separate the art from the artist kind of person.
I feel like he would have to be, right?
Yeah, well, knowing what we know about Kubrick, that's fair.
And to give credit where it's due, the more outspoken individual involved in Spartacus was actually Kirk Douglas.
Oh.
The lead actor.
Yeah.
He was very outspoken against the Hollywood blacklist, but he was also so fucking famous at that time.
Yeah, he was massive. Yeah. Massive fucking star. Yeah.
They couldn't do anything to him.
No.
But Spartacus did eventually, it was one of the films and events that led to the end of the blacklist.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of aliases, Dalton Trumbo didn't stop working. He just worked under different names.
Good. Okay, that rules.
Yeah. Does this have anything to do? Barely. Just barely has anything to do with Alan Smithee.
Tangentially. We haven't had a nice tangent like that in a little while. I'll take it.
Like I wrote in the script, probably only the people who know or care about the minutia of Hollywood machine will care. Relating it back to this movie, Alan Smithee, for talking about the minutia of Hollywood, in which nobody will care.
This movie is so incredibly inside baseball that I think that inside baseball would blush.
I know a little bit about the machine, and I don't care. Like, can you stop dropping specifically like producer names? Seriously,
it is literally only in that at that echelon of like in group nonsense within the film industry that stuff matters to anybody. Like, you don't have a ton of like movie fans clamoring over specific producers. Or at least you don't these days. I mean, maybe there was a point where that was like a big fucking deal.
No, not really. Honestly, I think you probably have people recognizing producer names, normal people, not weirdos like us.
Oh yeah, no, we're sick. Just
yeah, probably now more than then. I mean, you have Fahey,
Feige.
Yeah, I never remember how to say his name.
Yeah.
Even Kathleen Kennedy, some people recognize her.
Okay, so you do have a point there. I guess in the age of IP and the idea of I guess it kind of evolves out of like fandoms and the attention put on showrunners and whatnot. I think maybe there's something along those lines that have people more keyed into those levels of the executive behind creative projects like this. But all the same, I can't imagine just like a couple of average film goers or film fans like arguing over who is the more prestigious producer or or like the better producer. You know, if like, directors, sure, I see that happening a lot more.
Yeah.
Actors, well, I
Obviously.
guess, yeah. But no, I still can't see the producers being held up on that level. Like, that still feels like kind of a behind the curtain sort of thing for the average film goer. If I'm wrong, let me know. But yeah,
you're not wrong.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Razzies.
Let's talk about the Razzies.
So it won the worst picture.
Yes.
This was
19th?
19th. It was nominated for 9, and it won 5.
Okay, well, I don't know what else it won.
So it won worst picture.
Yes.
It also won worst supporting actor.
For...
Man, they really were mad at Joe Esterhaz.
They really clocked Joe Esterhaz?
For his like 40 seconds of on-screen time.
He's barely in the fucking movie. Good Lord, guys.
It was also Stallone was also nominated because of course Stallone was nominated.
Well, okay. Well, again, he's like the Razzie's favorite male punching bag.
Right.
So
him and Bruce Willis.
Right. Yeah. And then whenever you get into women, it's Madonna. Yeah. And almost just Madonna. I don't think there's another actress they pick on nearly that hard.
Not that I've discovered.
Yeah.
It won worst screenplay, which, okay,
no, fair, yeah, that's where you ping Joe Esterhaz.
Right, you got him there, but they also got him for worst new star.
Get the fuck out of
here.
He
did tie.
He tied. Okay, who was the other one?
I don't know this movie. Jerry Springer for Ringmaster.
I don't know the movie, but sure, why not?
Like worst new star, they tied. Good for you.
Like, there are so many other people that have much more prominent and also bad performances in this movie. Like,
well, I was fine with like Stallone. Well, I guess Stallone's not new.
Stallone's not new. No.
I think they were very mad at Joe Esterhaz, which I understand the feeling after watching this movie twice.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Once was more than enough.
The first time it just kind of like washed over me in a wave of shit.
Yeah. That's kind of how Becca and I felt.
And then I had to rewatch it to be like, maybe I missed the plot.
No.
No, I didn't. And then the last award it won was for worst original song, I Want to Be Mike Ovitz, which was written by Joe Esterhaz and Gary G. Wiz.
Okay, because that was like the first song that started playing when they introduced Richard Jeni's character, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's true. Yeah.
And I got confused at first as they had a different name on screen. I was like, but that's not Michael Ovitz.
But you see, he wants to be Michael Ovitz.
Sure. Dare I even ask the question, who is Michael Ovitz? Because I don't know who he is.
I was originally going to devote a section to all of the names that are referenced that no one's going to know. But then I was like, I don't give a fuck. What would have happened was I would give like one sentence to everybody and then I would just gush about Robert Evans for 40 minutes.
There was a lot of Robert Evans in this. I thought that was going to be like a one-off gag and he just kept coming back.
It wasn't. Well, I guess he was kind of important to the story. He was like it was like a weird cameo that happened to later be important to the story.
Yeah, I think that was like the one thing. It was like, oh, okay, well, he actually comes in some sort of importance later on. He's not just some producer that is thrown up there because he's one of the best known producers. Right.
And the only reason I even know about him is because he was a really big producer during the New Hollywood movement.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would not give a shit.
I only know about him because Comedy Central did that cartoon about him.
What?
Oh yeah, he had his own cartoon that he was like
a whole cartoon.
Like a whole cartoon, yeah.
He's so sad though.
Like a weekly series.
What?
It wasn't good.
No. He's a fascinating individual. I would not want to watch a fucking cartoon with him. I didn't want to watch him act.
And make weird incest jokes.
I forgot to write that down. Yeah, he made some weird like daddy-daughter incest jokes.
It was never funny, and it never worked. It was just gross every time.
Yeah, not to like harsh anybody's kink, but the delivery of the line was really gross.
Oh my god!
It's kind of like in our Caligula episode when I say "come," you can say "come" and it's not gross, and you're like "come," and then it's gross.
No, it's just when you say it that way, it just. I don't know how a word that you're saying has bad mouthfeel for me, but that's
it doesn't feel good for me
That's
either.
the best way I can describe it right now.
Again, we got to get all our laughs out in this
Yeah,
part.
I know.
Michael Ovitz. I want to say he was the producer at Disney, and eventually was ousted by Eisner.
Oh,
don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but don't quote me.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I can kind of see how he would be a big deal.
He was, or is. He's not dead. No, he was a big deal producer, but who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Let's move on to nominations.
Sure.
So Ryan O'Neal's nominated for his part as James Edmonds. I thought he was fine. He lost to, but he lost to Bruce Willis for Armageddon, Mercury Rising, and The Siege. I've only seen Armageddon.
Oh, God, those were all the same year. Holy shit.
Yeah, rough year. Probably a great year for his bank account.
I mean, yeah, dude got paid for certain.
It also was nominated for Worst Screen Couple. Every goddamn time. Razzies.
What is it this time?
Quote, any combination of two people playing themselves or playing with themselves. Haha, because it's masturbatory.
Yeah.
It lost to Leonardo DiCaprio and himself as twins in Man in the Iron Mask.
All right.
Which I haven't seen.
I have not seen it either. They couldn't have just like pointed out like Ryan O'Neal and Richard Jeni.
Yeah.
They're the on-screen duo we see the most.
Or even just the opening scene with Jackie Chan, Whoopi Goldberg, and Stallone.
God.
That scene alone, wow, you won the award, guys.
Yeah,
you did it.
Just don't fuck with me.
Don't fuck with me.
Don't fuck with me.
Don't fuck with us.
It did end with a "don't fuck with us," but yeah.
Which, like, I knew it was going there, and I just didn't. I wanted those bullets to be real. And then it was also nominated for Worst Director, but lost to Gus Van Sant for Psycho.
Wow.
Yeah, which I've only heard bad things about.
I don't think I've actually seen. What other films is Gus Van Sant really known for?
Well, he usually, and I think still is, mostly an indie director dude.
Yes.
So he did like Paris, Texas. I think he did Harvey Milk, the Milk movie.
Oh, okay.
There's a bunch. He was one of the big '90s independent directors.
Right. Because I was aware of him for a good while, but the only thing I ever hear anyone say about him is how shitty his movies are. Which I know I've seen Milk. And I swear I've seen something else of his as well.
My Own Private Idaho is, I think, the one that I watched.
I'm not even aware of that one.
Again, early 90s indie. If you want to see some like sweet baby-faced Keanu Reeves.
I mean, always.
I think he's in My Own Private Idaho, but I always mix that and Paris, Texas up. I don't know why, because they're completely different movies.
All right.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Back when indie movies were actually very indie.
Yeah.
But no, people mostly know him for that movie because it sucked. And I don't know that it did. I saw 5 minutes of it. It seemed like a direct shot for shot remake, and then I went and made out with somebody. So good for me. Anyway.
Good for you.
Good for me. Sorry, Gus. So last thing I want to comment on for the Razzies, and then we'll cut the break. You may notice that this movie pretty much hit every category.
It seems like it, yeah.
That didn't have a woman in it.
Huh. That's a good point.
Almost like there really aren't any female characters of note, and if they are, they're there for 5 seconds.
There are 2 female characters that are recurring. One being the escort who sleeps with Alan Smithee. Scratch that. 3 that recur. There's the escort that sleeps with Alan Smithee, Alan Smithee's actual wife, and Aloe Vera.
Which one's Aloe Vera?
Aloe Vera is Ryan O'Neal's character's ex.
Okay.
Who is constantly she's the one who shows some side boob in the bloopers at the end. But she also she is constantly talking about how Ryan O'Neal's character does a bunch of drugs.
Yeah.
And he's screaming about how he doesn't do drugs, how he I don't just Jesus. We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Right.
But
anyway,
they are the only women in the film that pop up more than once, and who have any kind of actual presence, and their bits are stale. They're given nothing to work with. They're framed and shot in the most bizarre ways.
Yeah, there is some real. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
All right, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Are you ready to get into it?
Sure.
Get into what worked. Starting with the cast. What worked for Alan Smithee cast?
Okay, I actually do have a legitimate answer for. Cool. And the first and foremost what works for the cast are Chuck D and Coolio.
Yes. Absolutely.
The brothers fucking rule.
Right?
Just objectively best lines, best delivery of anything that happens, best on-screen presence. Mwah. Thank you.
I have a theory as to why they work, but why do you think they work so well? And again, they're like indie. They're obnoxiously compared to Spike Lee over and over and over again by the producers because they're they don't know any. They
don't know any other black filmmakers,
right? But they're Why do you think they work?
I mean, I think they work because they're such a direct counterpoint to everything that's happening around them.
I wrote that it feels like they're in on how stupid the movie is.
Yeah, if you watch the YouTube channel Cinema Sins, which I try not to these days, every now and then he'll point out oh, this character would be really good at Cinema Sins. That's kind of the vibe that I get from these characters. Is just they get what's wrong with this fucking movie, and so yes. they are the meta joke on the meta joke. Yeah.
I don't know that they were thinking that hard about it.
No, they absolutely weren't. No.
Naturally, they saw a bunch of idiots making an idiot movie.
Yeah.
And this is some dumb shit, but let's go get paid.
Yeah. You know what? That is the more realistic explanation than the stupid shit I just said.
And I think that naturally just comes out from that attitude.
It flows very, very naturally for them. There's a comfort with their performance that I think is admirable.
But you're also right. There are a number of dialogue scenes with them that dialogue actually worked.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they go back to their house and the police raid their house. And
oh my God,
the confrontation.
The whole discussion with the cop.
Yeah. I forget the fake names they give their movies. Your brother ain't a brother.
It was you ain't no brother.
Yeah.
And oh my God, what was the other one? I'm drawing a blank on the other one, but
he's like, this one and that one, they sucked. Yeah. And they're like, oh nope. And he's like, all right, well that one sucked, but that other one, that was right.
It was all right.
That and the negotiation scene.
The negotiation
scene really good.
Hands down the best moment of the entire film. That moment where where James says, "You have final cut over my dead body," and Chuck and Chuck D leans over the table and goes, "All right, then die."
That did not feel scripted.
Becca howled, just outright cackled. It's that's the first good thing that's happened in this movie.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's a comedy.
It is,
and I think I laughed twice. That was one of them.
That was definitely that was easily the biggest laugh that I had this entire time. I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah, so absolutely agree. Brothers. Such a breath of fresh air in this fucking movie.
Even just everyone else around them as well. I forget the woman's name. Her last name was Lumumba, if I'm not mistaken. She was fun for the little bit we got out of her. But again, she's a woman in this film, so we don't get a whole lot out of her.
Right. Yeah.
I'm torn as to whether or not Eric Idle works.
There are, I feel the same way. There are scenes where he works, because I like Eric Idle just to begin with.
Yeah, no, I was excited when I saw that he was in this, because again, he is one of my favorite of the Monty Python crew. He's so fun.
His Sir Robin is probably my favorite of
Excellent.
Of the nights. I could forgive him his kind of weaker scenes, because it's not him being weak. He's working with garbage.
He's working with absolute trash. Just
in the current time, he is in a mental institution, which I think that was my first laugh. It was like the Sean Penn mental institution.
Oh, that it did say that.
Yeah,
didn't
I was
it?
like, all right. Low hanging fruit, but
Absolutely low hanging fruit. Yeah.
But he's in the mental institution, and he's working with the worst dialogue.
And singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider for some reason.
There is a reason why the music is so bad in this movie.
Oh?
And
I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more with production.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed him up until the very end when, like, I think this, like, Whoopi Goldberg was like, I could play Alan Smithee, and he's like, cool.
The inserts where he's just going cool and like turning his hat backwards. He definitely lost me at that point. It's like the entire rest of the film is like I'm rooting for that character, aside from like the weird like vaguely insane things they're having him do. Comes across as it reads as kind of ableist and strange, but it's just aside from that, like I'm with that character up until that ending, and it's just like, okay, now you've just lost me entirely.
I don't know what. I don't think he knew. Joe Esterhaz knew what he wanted to do with that character, because he had him be kind of like spiritual in a tongue-in-cheek way, but he also had him be an auteur where he really cared about the movie and what he was doing. But then he also had him only care about the edit because he was
an editor, which is really like, that is. We'll get more to it, but like his actual role is so unclear for such long stretches of this movie.
And then he kind of forgoes all of that at the end when he just cashes in.
Yeah.
It rubs against his character, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Any other actors that you thought worked?
There were moments where I enjoyed Richard Jeni.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say for the entire movie.
Are you familiar with his stand-up?
I don't know. I don't think I've seen his stand-up, actually.
I haven't either. So I wonder if his casting would have been a bigger deal at that time.
I know I've seen him in other films. I can't pinpoint them off the top of my head, but I don't know. There were moments where I feel like he was making good use of props that he was working with in particular, like the cigar moment whenever they're interviewing him very clearly from another car. Weird. Yeah, like the whole scene's very weird, but the way he's just actively like trying to like continue to play to the camera while driving, but also choking on the smoke that's blowing back in his face, that was pretty funny. I did get a laugh out of that moment.
I think I preferred Ryan O'Neal, but I also think it's because I've seen him in other things.
See, I didn't like Ryan O'Neal in this.
Why is that?
I mean, it may have just been the character itself. Like
he was a terrible person.
Yeah, it's just like I was so maybe I've been too steeped in the likes of John Peters and whatnot to like to countenance this kind of character. But like the moment that like they're talking about him threatening to kill Smithee and whatnot, it's like, come on, man. No, I'm not here for you.
That's fair. It also probably doesn't help that we know that is real.
Yeah.
Cool. What worked for the story?
I mean, like we said up top, like the base conceit of the movie, like the idea of a man not being able to take his name off of a shitty movie because his name is already Alan Smithee.
Yeah.
Is pretty funny. They don't play it. They don't work with it very well, but it's still like that base premise is still like it's straightforward enough to where like you can see where that would be grounds to like build something from.
there are a lot of things. I'm like, the intent of this, or what they started out with this, I liked.
Yeah.
They just immediately drop it for like low-hanging fruit and like jabs at people.
I like what they were trying. What it felt like they were trying to set up with aloe vera. Having a direct foil to everything that James was saying, that Ryan O'Neal was saying after a certain point, was satisfying to a certain extent. Like getting like the additional like the truth behind what he's saying, and like the fact that he's the fact that he is a bullshit artist and he is not the like clean living pasta man that he claims to be.
It was a weird diet.
It was a weird running gag.
Like that had to have been a person that Joe Esterhaz knew in real life and was like, that's weird and funny. I'm putting that in the script.
Right.
But that honestly, that was the vibe I got out of a lot of the jokes. It was like, oh, this is something that Joe experienced, thought it was hilarious.
And then he Frankensteined all that together.
Yeah. But we weren't there for any of that.
Yeah, nobody was. Yeah, it's a lot of like you had to be there moments.
Yeah.
And none of us were fucking there, Joe.
So the story worked really well then, huh?
Oh, yeah. Just went swimmingly.
You know what theme I thought worked really well?
What theme worked?
Hollywood is a terrible place full of terrible people.
Corruption, greed, horse shit, and opportunism. I think all were effective themes in this film. Yeah, I will agree with that. They maybe not intentionally nailed a lot of that.
Did anything work for the production? I said no. I liked the idea of it being a mockumentary. That was about it.
I think that the intention of how they were going to frame it wasn't a bad idea. Just I don't think the execution was there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, what didn't work for the casting?
Where
to start? How about the literal monster in the room?
The literal monster?
The literal monster. Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. He was awful. Like, just so I know we talked a little bit about this in the Terry Gilliam episode about how the Weinsteins like really want to be filmmakers, but but they're producers. That's not their role. This very much feels like him trying to like insert himself into film in a capacity that he's just not gifted in. He doesn't have the capacity to do this well. He's robotic. He's wooden. He's a wooden robot somehow. I don't know how I pulled that off.
Huh. Real Pinocchio, that
he's
guy.
A little bit of a Pinocchio. It's God. I'm sorry, Pinocchio.
Yeah, you didn't deserve that.
No, I feel really bad now.
No. So I will say he appears to be trying to do an impression of an actor from, I think, Dragnet.
Yes, that's very much the vibe that I got too. Like he's definitely going for like a.
I forget the actor's name.
But
I think,
but he's like he's telling a true story, but the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Right,
kind of deal.
Like Dan Aykroyd did it better.
Yeah.
They should have just got
Leslie Nielsen did it.
Yeah. Basically made an entire career out of doing that. God, I just want to talk about Leslie Nielsen.
I know.
So much.
I loved him so
more
much.
Delightful than. Whew. Yeah. So a little sneak peek into next week's episode. Part 2 of this is we're going to be talking about Harvey Weinstein in depth.
Because we can't not.
Yeah. We've kind of like bumped into him a couple times on the show.
Peripherally. Is this the first time that we've had to just straight up look at his ugly mug?
Yeah.
It just I mean, if you don't remember, he was his horrible actions were the reason the Me Too movement is a thing.
Yeah.
And we will talk more about that in part 2.
In more depth than I ever wanted to.
Yeah, but it bears repeating.
Yeah, it absolutely should be covered.
Yeah, and we will. So,
but I agree. I would love to know how he got involved in this project. Like, did he push his way in? Because this isn't a Weinstein or Miramax production. I don't think he gave any money to it.
I think this is just, again, it's the degree to which this film is so fucking inside baseball that it's just like the only people who would want to insert themselves into it and like be involved in it, with the exception of like, you know, the actors who were specifically hired,
right,
would have to be big name producers like this.
Like, I feel like he wanted to be the Robert Evans character, but Robert Evans was the Robert Evans character.
Yeah.
And he wasn't quite that famous yet.
No.
So he was like, all right, I'll take this role because this is a movie about movie people, and I'm a movie person.
Yeah. So like you still have Robert Evans like be active and doing things, and so you have Weinstein aspiring toward that early in his career, and then being like, well, I don't feel like it works to put you on his level.
Right.
We'll have you in. Maybe you can hang out a little with.
Right. The 3 A-list actors that they dragged into this movie, Stallone, Whoopi Goldberg, and Jackie Chan.
I felt terrible for Jackie Chan in particular. Like Whoopi Goldberg, I actually feel like did okay with what she was. Yeah, like I think she played such an exaggerated version of herself that I think it was. I think it was fun.
Even Stallone looked like he was having like a decent time being a smart ass. He was hanging on a Planet Hollywood being a smart ass, smoking a cigar.
Basically. I will say Stallone scratching the pool cue and just like tossing the stick down, like, fuck, hate this game. Like that. That actually was a pretty funny moment.
That had nothing to do with anything.
That was just the best take they had.
Yeah.
Like, I want to believe that was completely ad-libbed because he didn't mean to scratch.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But Jackie Chan, though, just like...
One, they were incredibly racist about it.
Oh, my God.
They're like, he doesn't even speak English. Fuck that guy.
And like it was like the beginning of the lazy captions that were popping up where they describe him as a scholar and a linguist. And it's like, guys, come on.
Oh, my God. What was the... It's the dude from Dexter.
Oh my God!
Surprise motherfucker!
Surprise motherfucker!
He plays the AD in this.
Yeah, and they literally list him as an Oreo.
Yeah, I threw up. Actually,
yeah, I saw. You warned me about that beforehand, and I saw it on the screen. And I was just like, still stunned. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's certainly not okay now, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't okay.
It wasn't okay then either. Like, I don't care what anyone fucking says.
Right. I actually didn't think he did a bad job for his little bit of screen time. Eric King.
Yeah, I actually did enjoy him. Again, line deliveries were solid. The role he played was, it was very, very small, but, aptly done. And was unfortunately subject to some weird racist bullshit on the screen that he was probably never made aware of.
No. So that was awful. Any other casting we want to highlight is terrible.
Oh, God.
There's a lot that's bad, but...
There's a lot that's bad. That's the thing, is there's so much in it. Like, every other woman besides the 3 that we named was just so bland and just unimportant to anything happening. Like, again, like, not given any input on anything. And all of them just blanket labeled feminists for no discernible reason. Like... The use of the term feminist in this movie
They treat the word feminist as though it's saying bitch.
Yeah.
Like, it's interchangeable in this context.
Yeah. Just judging by the way the captions work in every other way. Like, they're clearly they're clearly trying to operate in that fashion. I
didn't actually mind... I forget the character's name, but the escort.
I didn't mind her. I minded the framing of her.
You mean the literal framing?
Literal, yes.
Yeah, it's weird,
very
right?
Strange. Like, yeah, no, literally framing wise, which I just want to count this as moving on to what didn't work with the production. Yeah. So she there's that one moment in particular where she's like thinking about Alan Smithee and thinking about Alan Smithee, thinking about her, thinking about him, and it's just her in the exact same position mirrored.
Is this when she's praying in the church?
It's like just after that. Like she prays in the church. The first, I think she prays in the church a couple of times, or they have like multiple moments from her in that scene. But after they show that the first time, there's a moment where she's modeling. And, and she's just like flipping back and forth like they're just transposing the image over and over again.
Really weird.
It's so strange.
In general, the camera work was pretty bad.
Yeah,
in this,
it really was.
Specifically for her, I'm like, why would you frame her like that?
I genuinely don't know.
What else didn't work about the production?
The writing.
Just
all of the writing. I mean, I think we've touched on it quite a bit, but Esterhaz clearly, I want to believe this is something that he was really excited about and had like some kind of different vision for, but this was so tired and hackneyed and lazy.
So I think this is probably a good time to mention that the director of this film took an Alan Smithee credit, and not to be ironic.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Okay.
No, it was not ironic.
I thought it was a joke.
So Esterhaz wrote this. He also partially funded it.
Yes.
And the reason that the director left the project and took an Alan Smithee credit is because he got pushed out of the editing process, which is exactly the
oh my god
thing that happens in the movie.
It's literally in the script, guys.
Yeah.
How
and this
how do you not have the self-awareness to like realize, oh shit, what are we doing?
What there were many parts of this movie that were uncomfortable to watch, but there's I think it's a quote unquote outtake where Joe Esterhaz is talking to the director. Oh, I
remember that moment. I was wondering, who the hell is that guy?
That's the director, and he's trying to convince them to take this project. And the director, it's David Hiller, I think. He's like, well, why would I take this project? Because he can see like, oh, this is Joe's project.
Yeah.
He wants Arthur Hiller.
Arthur Hiller. I was going to say, I thought you said Arthur Hiller earlier.
Right, because it's Arthur Miller, but Hiller. And Joe's trying to convince him that this is the movie that's sticking up for the director, which is extra ironic because Arthur Hiller used to be the head of the DGA.
Right, he mentioned that. He said you were the president of the DGA.
Directors Guild of America.
Yes.
But then he takes on the project, he does a cut, they throw away his cut. He takes the Alan Smithee credit. It's nauseating, guys. Like, come on.
The sheer irony, like good lord. That's actually sickening.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, man. Like,
but I would also agree that I would take an Alan Smithee on this.
Oh, yes, in a heartbeat.
Like, the people who worked on it knew it was bad. Like, when Eric Idle was doing press for it, I think he described it as dreadful. It's a dreadful movie.
Oh my god.
Which is very much him.
It's very British.
God. So I also wanted to talk about why the music's terrible.
Yes. Yeah, so, please explain that to me.
I forget what studio he worked with. I've never heard of it before. It's like Cinego or whatever.
No idea.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, They couldn't afford the music.
Really?
Yeah. So Joe Esterhaz said that he would pay for the music, or at least try to figure out something for the music, which, again, guys, it's a mockumentary. You don't actually need music.
You don't really need it. It's not necessary for the format.
I really wish somebody had handed him a copy of, like, Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, I mean, that one does... Music's kind of important.
Right. It's like... But there's no music playing over the interviews unless it's a part of it. Anyway.
Sure.
It's all diegetic. So what he did was he put a call out, Joe Esterhaz,
yes,
for bands that want to have their music in a movie, and he got what he got, which was a bunch of bands that nobody had ever heard of playing bizarre ass music that has nothing to do with the scenes that they're in. Have I done this before? Absolutely. Did I write the scene to be around it afterwards? Yes.
Yeah, you can shape that to make it sound better and be more effective in the film in post. It's very clear there was no attempt to do that this time. And that's why you end up with that weird, like Rugrats-esque shit in the background of the mental hospital scenes.
Oh god, I hate it. Well, it was Itsy Bitsy Spider was a reoccurring song for the mental institution stuff.
Was it even beyond Eric Idle just actually reciting it, or okay?
Well, there was
there
was a version that was very Rugrats-esque.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's on a toy fucking xylophone.
Yeah,
it just.
I am imagining the 8-foot tall Joe Esterhaz with his gorilla hands just banging on a little tiny rainbow.
Yeah, except when they did that shit in Rugrats, it worked because it was Mark fucking Mothersbaugh who actually knows how to craft good music. Right.
He can take a Fisher Price piano and make it somehow fun.
Yeah.
What a guy. I wonder what he's been up to.
Was there a Devo reunion or something? I'm not sure.
We used to do all the Wes Anderson.
That's also true. So he may have some stuff going on there.
Maybe. I'd rather be talking about Mark Mothersbaugh.
We'll see when we see Asteroid City later this year.
Looks so good.
I can't wait.
So that's why not only the music is not great, it
also just doesn't fucking fit.
It doesn't fit, and it's so varied and different and feel. I think that some of the music would probably be fine in the context as a song, like the song that plays over the opening credits, the oddly incredibly long opening credits.
It's really long. Like they spent so much time, and I don't know if this is they really wanted to highlight all that graffiti work that was done, which Fine.
It didn't have anything to do with the movie.
No,
but
it had.
fine.
It really had almost no relevance. You could have looped that back around and had somebody in with the brothers,
right?
Be involved with that and have that be kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen later on. Where surprise, black artists save the fucking day.
Yeah.
But no, it's just kind of there.
Yeah. Anything else not work about the production? With the production,
The outtakes.
The fuck was that?
They're not good outtakes. They're not funny. They were
uncomfortable.
They were uncomfortable. They were a sorry excuse for side boob. A now frankly kind of insulting inclusion of the original director.
That's really. Oh yeah, I guess that is he had already left the movie at that point.
Yeah, he had to have.
Why would you?
Why would you include that? Now that I know that, it's what are you guys doing?
It had to. That feels very much like a high school bully move.
It does, yeah, and I think that boils down so much of what I think is so wrong about this movie is that it's
mean-spirited.
It's fucking mean-spirited. So much of it is it's both so far up its own ass and such a dick to everyone involved. That ending scene, that ending shot in particular is such a encapsulation.
Remind me what the ending.
It is framed from behind. It is Ryan O'Neal with shooting range targets of the brothers with gaping bullet holes right between their eyes, and then he holds his giant fucking gun up to his head and clicks, and then he just turns around and remembers there's a camera there and goes and walks off. I'm just
and then the Tarzan yell
no, the Tarzan yell was before that. That was Eric Idle when he was reunited with the escort because she came to visit him at the asylum, and
movie.
he sees her and goes, "Oh," and he's very touched, and then he just barrels down the camera, shouting and swinging his African stick that he's been holding, and there's a Tarzan yell for no reason. It's this movie's attempt to do the cockatoo from Citizen Kane.
Fuck is this movie?
Sorry, I feel like I just fell into a fugue state and started shouting.
All of the things you said are true.
Good. Okay, I'm glad I didn't go on a bizarre tangent.
I don't know how we ended up here, but here we are.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, do you think that this deserves its accolade? Does it deserve? I said, God, yes, and more so.
And more so, yeah, frankly.
People should hate this movie.
More people should hate this movie. Don't watch it.
Oh, God, no.
I would not recommend that anybody watch this fucking movie. You could
probably watch the trailer and get the whole vibe.
Actually, I will say, I didn't have to pay for this movie because we rented it through Hoopla from our local library. It is it is streamable through Hoopla.
I'm going to have to look up Hoopla.
Yeah. So
I hate saying it, but...
Support your local library.
I paid for this.
I'm sorry.
Fuck.
I'm very sorry.
Oh, man. I actually made sure to watch it twice just to get my money's worth.
Well, okay, at least you did that. So,
oh, God. Joe, where can they find us?
thank you for listening, everybody. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, please rate and review our episodes wherever you find them. We're on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever. Good Pods, Podchaser, wherever you listen, we are there. Help other people find us. Please spread the word about our show here, especially as we're approaching our season 2 finale very soon, where there will be a special announcement. I'm not going to tell you what. Yeah. Or if you want to make suggestions for things you'd like to see us cover in the future, you can email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at DeRazzledPod, Facebook at DeRazzledPodcast, and Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast. And I think that about covers it.
Fantastic. Yeah, we did take one of the suggestions, and we're going to do that in season 3.
Yeah.
I say suggestion, but it was more of a threat. Well, this was very fun, and I can't wait to come back next time to talk about Razzle Dazzle. Yeah.
Razzle Dazzle. Yeah. You said come back where we'll talk about. And it's like, wait, so what just happened? Do you want to take it again?
No.
No. Okay.